One of the things we ask our students to do in our Bible courses is to read the passage that they're studying in multiple different translations. The more different, the better. So the other day I was talking to my friend Jose, and he was lamenting that the students in some of his courses just don't get this. For instance, they'll read the passage in the King James Version and the New King James Version and the Modern King James Version. Three very, very similar passages, and often do it superficially, not appreciating how valuable this part of Bible study can be. So let me tell you why you should read a passage in multiple translations if you're doing a Bible study. Firstly, you read in multiple translations to identify interpretive questions. The point is that there are interpretive issues that lie in the Greek or Hebrew text of the original. And if you can't read Greek or Hebrew, you've got two options to try and uncover those difficulties, those dilemmas. Either you need to learn the language, which is really difficult, or you can find a workaround, and the best available workaround is to read the passage in multiple translations, and in particular, different types of translations. Why is that? Because where good translations differ significantly, there will be an underlying reason, some kind of interpretive difficulty in the text. So when Jose asked me to put something together on this topic, that same day I happened to be studying 1 Timothy 1 verse 19. And it furnishes a great example of why you should read in multiple translations. Here are four major translations of 1 Timothy 1 verse 19. They all start very similarly, referring to holding on to faith and a good conscience. That's pretty straightforward. So you'll see that in all four of them. Then they indicate that some people have rejected. And the question is, what did they reject? The ESV says they rejected this, which refers only to the conscience. The NIV 2011 says which some have rejected, which leaves it open that it could be conscience and or faith. The Lexham English Bible says that they have rejected these, meaning that it's faith and a good conscience. And the NIV 1984 says also that they've rejected these, so referring to both faith and conscience. Can you see that there's an interpretive issue here? If you only read one translation, you wouldn't know that there is some debate about whether they rejected faith and a good conscience, or whether they specifically rejected a good conscience. If you look lower down, it says some have made shipwreck of their faith. But if I go and look at some of the other translations, I'm going to find variation here. For example, the NIV says that they made shipwreck with regard to the faith. And we'd find some division amongst the translations. Of these ones, 3 have there and 1 has the. If we looked at more, we'd find that pattern multiplied. Now there's something different between learning the faith and learning their faith. But if you only read this in one translation, you wouldn't know that there's a potential ambiguity in the Greek text, and you need to decide which interpretation you find convincing. Secondly, you read in multiple translations to gain interpretive insights. So translations are low-level interpretations. Every time you translate, you have to, at some level, interpret. So they are first-level interpretations. If you only read one translation, you only get one committee or one translator's take on the interpretive issues. But if you read multiple, you'll gain insights. Want to have a look at the same passage in 3 other versions quickly, highlighting how insightful it can be to read it in multiple translations. When I was studying this passage, one of the questions I had is, what does it mean to reject a good conscience? And how does that impact faith? Notice how interpretive some of these are. For instance, the New Living Translation, for some people have deliberately violated their consciences. So that's what they understand it as, deliberately violating their consciences, and as a result, so it's a result, their faith, their understanding has been shipwrecked. I thought the CEB gave me the deepest insight into what the relationship between things actually is here. They say some people have ruined their faith. That's what shipwrecked their faith means, because they refused to listen to their conscience. So they're saying they rejected their conscience means they refused to listen to their conscience, and as a result, they ruined their faith. By reading particularly the freer translations, one often gains amazing interpretive insights into what the text might mean. So one of the best things you can do when you're studying a Bible passage is to read it in multiple translations. It'll do two things for you. Firstly, it'll help you to identify interpretive questions. And secondly, it'll help you to gain interpretive insights. I hope that's helpful. If it was, please consider liking the video and subscribing to the channel, and I'll see you next time.